Today, we're traveling across the desert to Winnemucca with RuffRiders, a nonprofit that saves dogs from death row. They transport dogs that are scheduled for termination and desperately in need of adoption.
So first we're picking up Duke. Duke comes from a family who reached out to us needing to rehome their dog. He's a husky. He is prone to escape, and so he's escaped a number of times, and unfortunately it's gotten to the point where it's just too much for them. So we've agreed to try and find a home. Huskies in this area are difficult to place just because they require a lot of activity, and a owner who is really on point with what the needs of a husky are. And so in being unable to find a home for Duke, we've worked out with our partners over at Pet Network Humane Society, and they're going to take Duke in, care for him, and as a joint effort, we're going to promote Duke and work on finding that home. The other dog, don't know much about her. She is a lab that is over at the Winnemucca shelter at the Animal Control. And for her time was up. So unfortunately with some of these rural shelters, as soon as the dog comes in, the timer starts. And if a home isn't found or if they're not transferred out by a certain period of time, they're put down. And so we do a lot of work with them trying to get their dogs out. And this lab just happens to be one of those going to also Pet Network, which is a no-kill shelter.
How often do you come out here?
I've been coming out once to twice a week, and usually we'll hit up the Winnemucca and the Battle Mountain shelters, bringing back anywhere from 2 to 5 dogs at a time.
In this car?
In this car. And so obviously in order to fit 5 dogs, a couple of those dogs have to be a little bit in the smaller size.
Ride on your lap the whole way back?
Not quite, but and then the larger dogs, obviously, we're taking 2 today, and that's about all we can fit.
First stop is at a private home in Winnemucca, where we met Duke. This big husky has become too much dog for this small family.
I was on Facebook, and someone said that RuffRiders had rescued a whole bunch of dogs from our local animal shelter, so I'm like, well, maybe they'll help us out finding them a home. So I went through Facebook and got a hold of Christian. We got him from our local animal shelter almost 4 years ago, and he was already 6 to 8 months old, so I think he already kind of had his little issues, but it didn't come out till later on. And so we got him and everything. We've had him almost for 4 years, but the kids are getting older. They don't want to walk him. Kind of deal. We're super busy. Our other 2 dogs are good if you walk them, you don't walk them, they're just good being lap dogs. He's not. He needs to be run and played with and everything. And we've already had incidents where he might have hurt some goats, but we don't know. We had to do a husky lineup. So it's just, he needs a family that is super active, on the go, can bring him, and we're just not there right now. So we're not doing him any favors by keeping him locked up all the time. So we want to find him a good home, where he can play, be outside, hopefully not in the kennel all the time. He does this weird thing where he won't eat for days. So, but obviously he's not underweight.
And it'll take him a couple days to settle in, I'm sure, but they take really good care of him there. So.
He's not dumb.
No.
He can open all of our gates, and he knows how to open up his kennel in the house. So.
It's clear that Duke's family in Winnemucca loves him, but they know it's time for him to enter into his next stage with a new family.
All right, you're very welcome, and we'll stay in touch and make sure that everything's taken care of for you.
All right, thank you.
You got it.
So what percentage of these rescues are like Duke, where it's an owner turning them over?
At this point, it's really only a small percentage, maybe 10% of what we do on a normal basis. But it's those 10% that are the hardest ones, because it's very personal. It's typically owner surrenders for reasons that are outside of their control, and so they tend to get very emotional.
Yeah, it seemed like a family where he was loved.
He really was. They really wanted what was best for them. They have a good relationship with the shelter that we're headed to now, just because he's escaped so many times and ended up there. But they didn't want to surrender him to them because, there's no guarantee that he would make it out. And so they helped recommend us, and now we're getting him to a place where he has a good chance.
So the shelter we're taking him to is a no-kill shelter?
It is.
And then are you taking him to Incline because huskies are in higher demand in Tahoe?
Not necessarily, even though that is generally the case. It's mostly because they had the availability and the space for them. We work with a few different rescue partners, and anytime we can find a space for a dog, we try and fill that.
The next stop is at the Humboldt County Animal Shelter, where we met plenty of dogs who are begging for new homes.
Rosie? Hey, Rosie! Hi, Rosie!
My doorstop.
So Duke's actually in the back here. Christina? Yeah.
Hi, baby girl. Hi, baby girl. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you. Yeah, I am. Oh, hi, Duke. Oh, you're going too.
Yeah. Rika was getting adopted as you guys got here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She had to go run and get some money. We don't take care of each other. So Rika's adopted.
Oh, cool.
But she can't take him until her husband gets up to 5.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, until Christian came along, we couldn't get transport half the time.
Yeah. So what would happen to those dogs?
We'd wait. We would have to beg and plead, or beg and plead our department to say, hey, can we at least meet somebody halfway? So that would take animal control out of the valley.
With 2 dogs loaded, we're off, back across the desert and up the mountain to Lake Tahoe. Fortunately for Duke and Rosie, the Pet Network in Incline Village is a no-kill shelter with a spectacular adoption program.
Good job.
What are you doing? Oh my God, she's gorgeous.
Hi, here. Come say hi to me. Hi. What are you doing?
He is an escape artist.
She's big.
He is
Okay, we'll put him in the jump pedal. He can jump.
Oh, he can jump, yeah.
Okay.
And I think I mentioned we make no small dogs or small
Yeah,
pets.
yeah.
He thinks everybody wants to play with him and just doesn't recognize his own size.
He's huge.
Yeah. But I mean, even the slightest crack in the door, unless you're forcing your way in, he'll want to get through, so.
Is he neutered?
He is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, still just gonna mark your room, huh?
Yeah.
It's a pretty great place to hang out while you're waiting to meet your new family. In addition to transporting dogs, RuffRiders also transport donated dog food to people, service organizations, and shelters all over the area. On our way back through Reno, we stopped off to pick up a load. This dog food is destined for a nonprofit that serves homeless dogs in the Reno area. While we were only able to move 2 dogs and a few hundred pounds of dog food today, it was an incredible experience to be a part of what RuffRiders are doing. Hopefully with support from animal lovers like you, Christian and the RuffRiders will be able to expand their operation by adding 2 additional transport vehicles, allowing them to save more dogs and serve a larger part of the United States. To find out more or to make a donation, visit RuffRiders.org.